Hello everyone, this is Ashwini from Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. So today's topic is about two-way ANOVA. So let us see what is two-way ANOVA means. ANOVA is a statistical test used to analyze the difference between the mean of more than two groups. So the two-way ANOVA is used to estimate how the mean of a quantitative variables change according to the levels of two categorical variables. So use of these two ANOVA when you want to know how two independent variables is the combination after the independent variable. So ANOVA is a method of analyzing the variance of set of data and dividing the variance into groups according to the sources of those variance. ANOVA is based on the principle that is the total amount of set of data that can be divided into two types. The amount that can be attributed to chance and other is caused due to the specific causes. In population, ANOVA is used to determine the difference between the mean samples and the variation within each sample and relative to the variance between the samples. So next we'll see what is two-way ANOVA means. The two-way ANOVA technique is used in the class for the given set of data and it is classified used for the two different independent factors. Here, the measurements are taken to the each factor separated from the measurements and the repeated values. The primary purpose of these two ANOVA is to determine if the relationship between the independent factors or the dependent factor. The technique helps us to determine the effect of independent factors and the dependent factors that is influenced by the other independent factor or not. So ANOVA table is nothing but it is a tabular form of data and calculations performed during the test. It makes more convenient for the observation and calculation of the data. So let us see the this is the table of ANOVA which contains the sources of variations, sum of squares, degree of freedom, mean and sum of squares, F ratio. This is how you calculate between the columns, rows, residual error, total, everything. So next is, we'll see how do ANOVA test work. ANOVA test for the significance using the F test for statistical significance. The F test is a group-wise comparison test, which means that compares the variance of each group mean to the overall variance in the independent variable. If variance within the group is smaller than the variance between the groups of F test, will find a higher F value and therefore higher likelihood at difference observed in real and not due to the chance. So the two-way ANOVA of interaction test is three null hypotheses at the same time. There is no difference between the groups at all for the first independent variable. There is no difference in groups means at level of second independent variable. The effect of one independent variable does not depend upon the effect of other independent variable. Next we'll see what are the assumptions. Assumptions are nothing but they are the two-way ANOVA where the data should make certain assumptions. So two-way ANOVA makes all the normal assumptions of parametric test of difference. So first one is homogeneity of variance. Homogeneity of variance is around the mean for each group being compared should be similar along all the groups. If your data don't meet these assumptions, you may be able to use a non-parametric alternative like Kruskal-Wallis test. So second one is independent of observations. Your independent variables should not depend upon one another and this is impossible to test with the categorical variables and it can only be ensured if it is good experimental design. In addition, your dependent variables should represent unique observations. That is, your observation should not be grouped within the locations of the individuals. So next is normally distributed dependent variable. The values of the dependent variable should follow the bell curve. That means they should be normally distributed as the data don't meet these assumptions and you can try the data transformation. So next we'll be seeing How to perform the two-way ANOVA, which is very important. The data set from our imaginary crop yield experiment includes the observations of final crop yield, type of fertilizers used, planting density, and block of field. So, two-way ANOVA will test whether the independent variables, fertilizers type and planting density, have an effect on the dependent variables. So, but there are some other possible sources of variance in the data that we cannot take this into an account. So, because we have different possible relationship between our variables, that will compare three models. So, first is the two-way ANOVA without any interaction or blocking variables. Second one, a two-way ANOVA with interaction but with no blocking variables. Third, the two-way ANOVA with interaction and with the blocking variables. So this is how you perform the two-way ANOVA. So we have seen many about definition, everything, applications, performance, table about two-way ANOVA. So this is all for today's video. Thank you for everyone watching my video. Please do share it to your friends and family.